Pentagon testified $25 billion. Harvard answered $1 trillion. The same week, the same war. She had made a claim like this before, about Iraq, when the official figure was $500 billion. Her estimate, $3 trillion. She was right. Her word about Iran, certain. Follow the money through both numbers and you find they are both technically correct. The gap between them is not politics. It is an accounting architecture, one that has produced the same 10 to 40x ratio in every major American conflict since Vietnam. Since February 28th, that architecture has already removed $150 from your wallet. No receipt, no attribution, no line item. To understand where the other $975 billion went, you need to understand how the system was built. Operation Epic Fury launched February 28, 2026, the largest American air campaign since World War II. 900 strikes in the first 12 hours. U.S. objectives: destroy Iran's ballistic missile and drone capabilities, destroy the Iranian Navy, destroy Iran's defense industrial base. 3 mandates pursued simultaneously at a scale not attempted in the post-Cold War era. By March 4th, Iran had closed the Strait of Hormuz. The International Energy Agency designated it the largest single oil supply disruption in global history. 14.5 million barrels per day at peak, the world's most critical choke point, closed. By March 19th, U.S. military costs had reached approximately $18 billion. Then, on April 29th, Acting Pentagon Comptroller Jules Hurst III testified before the House Armed Services Committee. Total cost to the United States, approximately $25 billion, most of it munitions. The official number, delivered under oath before Congress. The war had a number, but numbers need methodology. Jules Hurst III used DoD standard accounting. Munitions priced at original acquisition cost, what the Pentagon paid when it bought these weapons, sometimes years before the war, recorded against FY 2026 appropriations only. Nothing beyond what Treasury had invoiced by day 60. Linda Bilmes used the full cost of war methodology she built with Nobel economist Joseph Stiglitz for Iraq. Munitions at current replacement cost. What building new versions would cost today, not what the stockpile was purchased for. Veterans' lifetime health care and disability expressed as present value, incurred at the moment of injury. War debt interest at current Treasury yields. Energy and inflation spillover counted as direct economic costs of the conflict. CSIS cross-checked independently, working from DoD target counts and FY 2026 munitions pricing. Their figure for the first 100 hours, $3.7 billion, using replacement cost. The Pentagon's 60-day total, $25 billion, using acquisition cost. Both were right about what they were measuring. The math wasn't the issue. The question was. Bilmes had done this before. Her Iraq estimate, published with Nobel economist Joseph Stiglitz in 2006, put the war's full cost at $3 trillion against an official Pentagon figure of $500 billion. Congress dismissed the number. The Wall Street Journal editorial board called it war cost inflation. The response was wrong. By 2026, the Watson Institute's running Iraq and Afghanistan tally had passed $3.2 trillion. Veterans care alone is projected to reach $2.2 to $2.5 trillion through 2050. The Bilmes Stiglitz methodology had mapped the territory 2 decades before the territory confirmed the map. She has applied identical methodology to Iran, and the same acquisition cost convention Jules Hurst III used in his April 29th testimony, the same one she corrected in 2006, is the convention at the center of the gap. What they were building was not just a tally, it was a system designed to produce the smaller number. 3 layers of cost the Pentagon's methodology misses, each documented, each invisible to the official $25 billion. The first, munitions. The Pentagon priced them at acquisition cost, what the DoD paid when it bought these weapons, sometimes years before the war began. A Tomahawk cruise missile purchased under an FY 2020 contract sits on the Pentagon's ledger at $1.87 million. Building a new one today costs $3.2 million. The ledger doesn't update. CSIS priced the munitions component of the first 100 hours at $3.1 billion using replacement cost. The Pentagon's methodology used acquisition cost. Both figures were accurate. They answered different questions. In 39 days, the United States expended more than half its inventory for 4 of 7 critical munitions types. Replacement lead time, 36 to 52 months. The $200 billion supplemental budget request Congress received in March was not the war's cost. It was the first invoice for restocking the stockpile. Before the war, these missiles were a budget line. After 39 days, they were a replacement invoice. 13 U.S. military personnel killed in the Iran war. More than 400 wounded. That count, as of March 23, 2026, generates obligations that won't appear on any defense budget line for decades. The Watson Institute's Costs of War methodology, the same framework BILM's used for Iraq, calculates veterans' lifetime health care, disability, and survivor benefits as a present value obligation at the moment of injury, not when the VA invoice is submitted, at the moment. For Iraq and Afghanistan, that obligation now stands at $2.2 to $2.5 trillion through 2050. The per capita structure is established. Every 100 wounded service members, adjusted for injury severity, generate approximately $180 million in lifetime healthcare and disability obligations. A Marine wounded outside Isfahan today will file VA claims for 50 years. The accounting system records that injury in FY 2026. The claims arrive from 2028 through 2075. The Pentagon didn't fail to count these costs. It was never designed to count costs that haven't happened yet, even when they've been contractually promised by the moment of injury. The Iran war added $65 billion to the national debt in its first 60 days. That principle doesn't retire. It compounds. The current 10-year Treasury yield, 5.2%. The $200 billion supplemental, if enacted, will cost approximately $320 billion over a standard 30-year paydown at current rates, nearly double what the same principle would have cost at Iraq-era rates of 2 to 4%. The Dallas Fed's working paper on oil shock transmission calculates that the consumer price impact of the Hormuz closure arrives with a 3 to 6 month lag. The grocery price increases from the March supply disruption haven't fully arrived yet. 3 layers: munitions at replacement cost, veterans' lifetime care, war debt interest at 5.2%, each documented in primary sources, none of them in the Pentagon's $25 billion. Add all 3 to the baseline, and you approach a number that has a name. The Iraq War's interest payments are still being made. They will be made until 2053. Watson Institute's Iran Energy Cost Tracker, $150 per U.S. household in increased energy costs through mid-April 2026. $20 billion nationally. Gas prices. Before Operation Epic Fury launched, $2.98 per gallon. As of May 5th, $4.46 per gallon, a 50% increase. At 500 gallons of average annual household consumption, the direct gasoline cost through year-end projects at $740 per household. Penn Wharton's broader model, energy, food inflation, downstream supply chain costs, estimates total household burden at over $3,000 if the conflict runs to projected resolution. The $25 billion the Pentagon reported to Congress does not include any of this. It was never designed to. The economic disruption cost of a war is not a DoD line item. It is the spillover that lands in retail prices, heating bills, and the cost of goods whose shipping routes ran through a closed strait. This is not a projection. You have already paid this. 3 cost layers. 1 accounting methodology that misses all 3. That methodology has a name, and it has a document. OMB Circular A-11, published annually, never classified, available on the OMB website. It defines defense costs as obligations incurred in the current fiscal year against appropriated funds. That definition, by design, excludes three categories: assets priced at replacement versus acquisition cost, multi-year entitlement obligations not yet invoiced, and debt service costs accounted in Treasury rather than DoD. The BILMS methodology counts all three. The DoD methodology counts none of them. This is not corruption. It is not deception. It is the structural consequence of applying an annual budget cycle framework to an obligation instrument that spans decades. Every Tomahawk expended in Operation Epic Fury will need to be replaced at 2026 prices. Every Iran War veteran will generate VA obligations through the 2060s. Every dollar of war debt compounds at current Treasury rates until paid. OMB Circular A-11 does not count any of this. It never has. It was written for annual appropriations, not for war. Linda Bilmes and Joseph Stiglitz published their $3 trillion Iraq estimate in 2006. Congressional responses ranged from dismissal to derision. The Washington Post editorial board wrote that their methodology confuses sunk costs with future obligations. The response was wrong. By 2013, the running tally had passed $2 trillion. By 2026, the Iraq and Afghanistan combined obligation, veterans care, war debt interest, operational costs, is tracking toward the Bilmes-Stiglitz range. The mechanism they identified operated exactly as they predicted. She has applied identical methodology to Iran. The same OMB Circular A-11 framework that understated Iraq is understating Iran. The same acquisition cost convention that produced the Iraq undercount is producing the Iran undercount. She has no reason to be wrong this time that she did not have reason to be wrong then. The DoD accounting methodology isn't a mistake that no one noticed. It persists because it serves a function. It produces a number Congress can debate in a single budget year, using categories that fit within existing accounting structures. Switching to full cost of war accounting would require Congress to appropriate funds against obligations extending 40 to 50 years. Difficult in a system designed for 2-year election cycles. It would require DoD to price munitions at replacement cost before replacement contracts exist. It would require VA obligations to appear in the defense budget years before the first claim is filed. The methodology doesn't hide costs. It defers them. The deferral is structural, and it is, by now, predictable. Every major American conflict since Vietnam has eventually revealed a true cost 10 to 40 times higher than the original figure. The pattern is the policy. Whether the framework itself should change is the debate that has never happened. What would need to change for it to start? The next time a Pentagon comptroller testifies before Congress about a war's cost, the number will be accurate and incomplete in exactly the same way. It will count what was spent against appropriated funds in the fiscal year. It will price munitions at acquisition cost. It will not include veterans' lifetime health care obligations. It will not include war debt interest at current rates. It will not include the economic spillover already priced into every gallon of gas since the campaign began. That number is not a lie. It is the output of a system built for peacetime budgeting. Linda Bilmes' $1 trillion, delivered with one word, certain, counts the rest. The iceberg has always been there. Now you know where the waterline is. If you want to follow the numbers, the next Pentagon press conference won't show. The systems that make those gaps possible, that's what this channel tracks. But why this accounting framework has survived every war since Vietnam, unchanged, that is another story entirely.